Welcome back to the CONVO Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pastor Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Jonny Sue on the ones and twos. I want to send a special shout out to my sister, Janine, who's watching tonight. I love you, honey. Don't worry. Things will always get better. I know Howard Jones said that. And then he said, whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa.
Those were the words.
I'm so lost.
And that's like the politic week. The weekend was crazy, fam. I was going,
God.
whoa, whoa.
Yes.
So why don't you start us off? Because I know there's a lot of stuff going on.
Starting off. Okay.
Start off with your boyfriend because you had such a romantic weekend with him.
Yes, I did. But I also want to give a shout out to my girl, Natalie Chavez, who is going through tough times. If you don't know her, she's on Twitter. She's a Bernie Tulsi person. And she is, they're in danger of being evicted from their home, her and her family. So she has a GoFundMe page set up in case anybody has any extra money. She's going through some tough times. She has children as well. So this economy is really terrible right now. And a lot of people are really just hanging by a thread. So it could happen to anybody. And I just wanted to give her a shout out. So because of everything that's been happening with Bernie and then the Warren and back and forth, there was recently a need for Bernie to come up with something else, because there was a lot of the trolls out there saying Bernie's done, Bernie's this, and so a lot of his supporters have been fighting against that narrative. So Bernie Sanders, of course, didn't disappoint, and we knew he would have a plan to get money out of politics, but his plan here is very detailed and it's unprecedented. So I took the liberty to just break it down into bullet points because you can actually go read it on his website. But I'm going to go through the thread of the basic things he is talking about doing. So here on the tweet I have, he is going to ban corporate contributions to the Democratic Party conventions and committee, which is still happening now. The corporations and these lobbyists go and give pretty much just sway people to shift their loyalty just by telling them, hey, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that for you.
Yeah.
He's going
Don't they have the conventions? The last convention, I think we were making fun of it. It was sponsored by like AT&T.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're going to be grassroots Democrats sponsored by AT&T. They had all these major corporations. With the last conventions.
All of them, even the ones here in California.
Yeah, we had problems with that over here.
He's going to update and strengthen the Federal Election Campaign Act. He is also going to return to mandatory public funding for national party conventions. So again, this gets rid of the lobbyist money. And then we also have banning all corporate donations for inaugural events for President of the United States, and to cap the individual donations. So like, of course, these corporations, once you become president, come and cater to you. And he's also going to overturn the Supreme Court ruling saying that money is considered speech, which was Buckley versus Vallejo. I remember that. I remember learning about that. And he's also going to end the super PACs political money by 501c4s and other organizations accepting unlimited contributions that then they in turn can give to these candidates, like we've seen with Elizabeth Warren. He's also going to do a hugely important thing,
Biggest
which is
one.
overturning Citizens United. This is crucial. I think the majority of Democrats at this point should support this if they have any sense, because it's pretty popular.
That was always an excuse, like when people would say, oh, Obama has to take this money and stuff like that. Until Citizens United is abolished, we have to play by those rules.
Right.
Well, a man by the name of Bernie Sanders came along and said, F that, you know what, because he did it without all these big corporations' money, so he led the way. Obama, I think, showed a lot of stuff with going online, getting a lot of money on Facebook, getting a lot of money from the individual donors, but nothing like Bernie has done. And he stayed away from Wall Street, he stayed away from the military-industrial complex, and he stayed away from Big Pharma. And he showed us the way.
And he's got 1 million different donors, which is huge. He's going to abolish the FEC and replace it with the Federal Elections Administration, which is just going to be better and more specific. He's also going to end the influence of corporation in the DNC by banning donations from federal lobbyists and corporations, passing mandatory public financing laws for all federal elections, and banning advertising during the press primary debates, which is also part of that whole thing where they advertise.
He's taken the step from a lot of, he's seen stuff over in Europe and other areas where, you know what I'm saying, there's no corporations, there's no sponsors. It's public access. They make sure it's available to everybody, has a limited amount of time, a limited amount of money, and not one candidate can get way overfunded as the other one gets no funding. So the principle is going to really come out of what these candidates are really all about.
Absolutely. And then he's also going to institute a lifetime lobbying ban for former members of Congress and senior staffers, which of course is a conflict of interest and now, and it shouldn't happen, but it's still happening. So
Yeah.
the link is there if you guys want to look at it, and you guys can see that it's very specific. It's a specific and detailed plan, and it's really like Bernie to do that. I would add to that. I would add a sort of kind of in coalition with that. I would add something like what Tulsi put out, the Securing Our Elections Act, where there is a paper ballots trail always, that there is ranked choice voting, that there are that there's more security in our elections, not just from foreign agents, but from our own party members. And that's something I would add to it. But other than that, I think it's pretty specific, well documented, and Elizabeth Warren is not going to be able to come up with something as specific as that.
Institute a lifetime lobbying ban for former members of Congress and senior staffers. This is a big one. This is one that Donald Trump did talk about it. They all become lobbyists, he said with his little speech. We've vowed to drain the swamp, but he never really went through it.
Right.
He drained the swamp, found his cabinet on the bottom, and there's still people from Goldman Sachs and all these other companies that are highly engaged in our Constitution and in our elections and everything else as far as our politics are concerned. But there's also another thing we should talk about too as well. We need to make sure that anybody from the intelligence community, once they are done and they leave the intelligence community, they should not be able to go involved in any type of media for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fact they're going right to MSNBC, right to CNN, the deep state is actually working in conjunction with our media to brainwash our citizens and curve our narrative, the narrative, the way they want to. And it's highly dangerous, highly deadly. I love this here. We need to get rid of the lobbyists in this country. We need to get rid of these people who have all these high level of clearance going on and peddling their deep state narrative on main corporate news channels. It's bad.
Right. And Bernie Sanders makes it clear that some of these politicians go into it with good intentions, but it's almost like they can't take on the system. Huh? They get corrupted. It's really hard. And he's held his own for a really long time. And I think that's something admirable. If even if you don't like him, I think it's something that's like, wow, like he's at least been pretty consistent in his 40 years in service. So,
all right, before we get into Elizabeth Warren, let's say hi to a couple people. It's late night. Fam, where were you? Why don't you tell people you saw an amazing thing before I said hi?
So I don't have like a graphic, I didn't think today, but I went to see Abby Martin's Gaza Fights for Freedom, which was an amazing, amazing film. If you haven't seen it, you can go. She has a link on the website, and you can go rent it or buy it. I got to see it on the big screen, and she spoke about it a little bit at a Q&A and stuff like that. And that it was really good because I've talked to people about BDS, and some people are not for BDS because they think that it's anti-Semitic, and Bernie has said that before. I don't know where he stands now, but he has said that before, that there are anti-Semitic tropes with BDS and that it's going to make a two-state solution impossible. But when I did the BDS video going over what Bernie has said, what Tulsi has said, what Warren has said, I learned that BDS never actually advocates for destroying the state of Israel. It actually only merely advocates for getting the Palestinians pretty much the same rights that they had before, because right now they have no rights. And on our way there, we met an Uber driver who was from Palestine, and he was talking to us like, yeah, we have no rights and blah, blah, blah. And my friend got him on an interview, and it was really good because we were hearing from somebody firsthand. And then when we saw the movie, you guys, if you are not convinced on BDS after watching this movie, I think you're going to have a hard time not being for it. You're going to see exactly what's going on, how the Western media frames the pro-Israeli lobbyists here, AIPAC, frame the narrative to say that the Hamas is a dangerous terrorist threat when they're not. And I really want to commend Abby and her husband and the Empire Files for doing this, because they spent like an entire year doing this, and it was really, really good, really well done. Like I'm a film person. It was really well done cinematography wise. It was also narrated well, the research that went into it, the storytelling, everything. It's a wonderful documentary, an hour and 24 minutes long. Do watch it and support Gaza Fights for Freedom. it's called.
CR, I just told you Gaza fights for freedom, even though you insulted me and said I was obnoxious. Thank you, CR, for watching. Oh, keep watching. I am obnoxious. So is Chank, but who cares? Cheyenne Tierra, thank you so much. This is 55 people watching on the MCSC Network YouTube. Al Lee, how you doing? Vicky Carolyn and Matteo Peru says, how's that single healthcare bill going, Pasta? We'll talk about it in a second there. Vicky Carolan, or Carolan, however you want to pronounce it. Debbie Munn, thank you so much for joining in on our Facebook. Thank you, Dolores Piers. We have 13 people watching. And on the Convo couch, let me get over to it. I'm over on our Rockfin. We do have a super chat. And before I get to it, let me say hi to a couple people. Jesus Zamora, or Jesus Zamora, how you doing? Mares, always good to see you, my friend. Lee Cox, Jesus Zamora, I said your name twice. Lori Lee, thank you so much. Cheyenne, you're over here, you're over there.
She's everywhere.
She's everywhere. Manny Gil Flores, Shauna, Val. Val says hi to Pasta and Fio. We love you.
Val.
Thank you so much. So let's get to the first super chat. It was by Don Evans for $2. Thank you, Don Evans, for giving us the deuce. We can use the deuce when we need it. Scott McLaughlin, another $2, says we need to get corruption out if the bureaucracy.
Yes.
Out of the bureaucracy is what I think you meant to say. But yes, we agree with you. Your boy Johnny Squids McCracken is also hanging on out with Nina Cardella. There's my sister Janine. I love you. Nina Cardella, hang in there, sister. We got 103 people watching. You helped us get over 100. I love Sister Janine.
Hi,
she
Janine.
is amazing, and we love you from the Convo Couch crew. If you haven't gone over to our Rockfin, ROKFIN, please do. It's a cryptocurrency backed platform. It is growing. We need to rage against the machine and get away from these corporate jerk-offs and all these people who suppress our voice, like YouTube and like Facebook, and get onto a new platform. So that is the future. ROKFIN. Check it on out. And if you love MMA, you're going to love the site. Fam, what else do we got right here now?
Fam.
Did somebody lie?
Somebody
Did
lied.
somebody flip-flop?
We've been finding out that Elizabeth Warren, of course, isn't the progressive that many people thought she was. And like months ago, Pasta and I were kind of, talking about it, and people were like, no, you guys are wrong. She's an ally, blah, blah, blah. But more recently, this whole thing has been unraveling. We've kind of found out that she does have ties to the insurance industry, that she wasn't really a teacher like she claimed to be, that she wasn't Native American for sure, and that she did exploit that, saying that she was a woman of color, etc. And a lot of these things just have more so, of course, her policy alone is worthy of criticism, but her integrity and her honesty are things that are also coming into question by many people. As someone that liked Elizabeth Warren a lot,
I used to play her videos
a few years ago,
well, I mean.
And was inspired by her in so many ways. It's disappointing to really take the veils off and see. So a lot of you might have heard about this, that Elizabeth lied about several things like discrimination, like I said, but she also lied about getting fired because she was pregnant, or kind of suggesting that that was the reason she got fired. And it's been a part of her stump speech many times, not just in the clip we're going to show, but it's been a part of it. And basically, Massachusetts Senator and Democratic candidate Elizabeth Warren had claimed that she lost a public school teaching job because she was visibly pregnant, quote, but that's actually not true, according to the Harvard law professor, according to herself.
Yeah.
According to Elizabeth Warren. So which way Warren, I don't know.
Which way Warren?
Which told a different story in 2007. So we're going to show the two videos. We're going to show the video in 2007 and then the subsequent rally and see how her story changes.
We got to start that hashtag, which way Warren.
I came to college thinking I came to college on a debate scholarship. I was 16 years old when I graduated from high school, and I got a full scholarship in debate that was room, board, tuition, books, and a little spending money. It was a fabulous scholarship at George Washington University if I would debate for them. It was sort of the equivalent of an athletic scholarship, only this was one that actually a girl could get. And even though there weren't very many girls in debate either. I was going to be a teacher, and I quickly switched over and decided what I wanted to do was work with brain-injured children. So I got my degree in speech pathology and audiology, which meant that I would be able to work with children who had head trauma and other kinds of of brain injuries. And that's what I did.
For a while. I mean, you actually pursued that career.
I actually did. I was married at 19 and then graduated from college, actually, after I'd married. And my first year post graduation, I worked, it was in a public school system, but I worked with the children with disabilities. And I did that for a year. And then that summer, I actually didn't have the education courses, so I was on an emergency certificate, it was called. And I went back to graduate school and took a couple of courses in education and said, I don't think this is going to work out for me. And I was pregnant with my first baby. So I had a baby and stayed home for a couple of years. And I was really casting about, thinking, what am I going to do? And my husband's view of it was, stay home. We have children, we'll have more children, you'll love this. And I was very restless about it. And so I went back home to Oklahoma. By this point we were living in New Jersey because of his job. I went back home to Oklahoma for Christmas and saw a bunch of the boys that I'd been in high school debate with. And they'd all gone on to law school. And they said, you should go to law school. You'll love it. And I said, really think so? And they said, of all of us who should have gone to law school, you're the one who should have gone to law school.
Okay, so as you guys heard, she didn't have the courses required. So she was saying, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out. She went back home and then decided to become a lawyer. That's what she's saying in 2007. Did you want to read this before we go?
Oh, well, I was going to say, Manny says a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Manny. And we thank everybody who leaves a super chat. David Harris left $2 on the MCSC network and said, hi, guys. David, get on over to the Convo Couch YouTube, will you? He's a Patreon. We love you, Dave. And everything you leave on there on the Patreon, we read and pay attention to because you leave books. And I've read 3 books this week because I've read 3 of your comments. But we love you. We love your advice. Michael Cruz, too. Manny says, would you be able to cover Ecuador tomorrow? I know it's probably quick, but a lot is happening. A state of emergency has been declared. Yes, you're right. Anti-austerity protests have broken out in Ecuador, and they are shutting down everything. I will take a look more further into it. I don't know the history of it, but I do know there are anti-austerity programs because the people are pretty much done with having to pay the load of everything going on, and those oligarchs, the rich, get to pay no taxes whatsoever. And that was our other super chat. But go ahead with your girl. There's David Harris. Go on with your girl. We have 62 people on the MCSC network, 120 on the Convo Couch YouTube. That's awesome for this time. We love you. Back to Elizabeth.
Okay, so let's watch what she said in one of her recent stump speeches at a rally.
So my first teaching position was as a special needs teacher. There we go. I loved that job. But by the end of the first school year, I was quite visibly pregnant, and the principal didn't invite me back for the next school year. So I found myself at home with a baby, and yep, those were the days. And I got this idea that I could go to law school.
Okay. So her story switches. The principal didn't invite me back. So which is it? Did the principal not invite her back? Did she she said that she didn't have the credentials, so maybe she didn't have the credentials, and then she's made it out to seem like she was being treated unfairly. Like this was something that was used because she was pregnant. And this isn't the only time she said this. We can find other videos where she has used the same thing and said, oh, I was pregnant. Like they didn't invite me back, that they said this and that. And it's a problem because this isn't the first time she's doing this. And it's not a big deal to me. This isn't like the biggest deal to me. It's been a big deal to a lot of people. It's been all over Twitter. It's been all over. To me,
it shows a pattern of lying.
But
all
it
the
does
time.
show a pattern.
It's
not
like
even
all the time.
Not even of lying, but just like embellishing things or omitting things. And of course, to her credit, human beings, the memory is very, as you get older, your memory is very. It's hard to remember what actually happened. Things get foggy and cloudy. So to her credit, it could be one of these instances. But again, this incident doesn't stand alone. It's been happening in an ongoing situation for a while.
Yeah.
So that is why people are like getting really irritated with her using these tropes as, oh, I'm a woman. Like she constantly
always plays the victim.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thrown out because I was pregnant. I'm a Native American. You know, like I'm
Right.
suppressed. She always plays the victim, and she looks to whistle signal or signal to that base of the party. Those, you know, those identity politic people who listen to that stuff, who take that stuff to heart and take it strongly, as opposed to policy direction. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? She's been playing the same game over and over again. I'm a victim. I know you're a victim. I will fight for you. It's the mentality that she has. She's still doing it again.
And the thing
By saying that
about-
she was fired for being pregnant when she just simply said, I went home to my
Yeah.
family.
And the thing about Elizabeth Warren is she's not Hillary. Like, I'll say this because she's not like she's not like confident like that. And she's kind of almost like dorky in a way. Like, you know, she doesn't have that same like veracity that like a Kamala has or a Hillary Clinton has. So it's different to criticize her because it almost seems like this is like she's not even aware of this. I don't know what it is, but like it's just not consistent. And one of the things that people admire about Bernie Sanders is his consistency. Over 40 years, you can find a video of him criticizing the crime bill. You can find a video of him now talking about that. You can find a video of him going back to environmental justice, talking to kids in the 1980s before I was born, and talking the same talking points that he's talking about now, warning people of the same things. So to me, it's just, why would you go with the same typical politician that likes to embellish things over the person that has the consistency?
Yeah.
It's just not a good argument for
It's
her.
kind of funny because you reminded me too of the way she was. Like, I remember when somebody went at her in Congress and she was like just kind of doe-eyed. And then just recently when somebody asked her, hey, would you let your child be on the board of an energy company?
Right.
And she was just like doe-eyed. So you're right, she's very different than, Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, who can look at you stern with that straight face and lie to you without
Yeah.
even batting an eye and say, nope, you're wrong.
Yeah.
The sky's yellow. It's not blue.
That's why, as much as I dislike Elizabeth Warren, I don't put her in the same category because I don't think she's a sociopath. I like some of these other people. I don't think she's there. But I do think that in a way makes her more dangerous because it makes her more appealing. And the middle ground part, right? Like we can't have this incrementalism. We can't have this middle ground. And also another reason, which is very important, she's so susceptible to Donald Trump. She's literally took his
She'll get
bait.
destroyed.
She's going to get destroyed over things like this by the Republicans like that.
Yeah.
It's just not
The
going to be
Fox
good.
News thing was really damaging. Like, they can use it, it's like, she doesn't even want to talk to you people. If you don't, if Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, I call her, cannot, if you don't agree with her, she doesn't even want to talk to you. It's terrible. It's
Yeah.
disgusting. Like, he'll do his typical Donald Trump kind of thing, fam.
Fam.
And you're right, she isn't like that. But once again, the fact that she was out there and about with Hillary Clinton, to me, was just the ultimate, like, oh
Yeah.
my Lord, like, lady, what are you doing? She's much more dangerous, A. Mars says.
One more thing before we move on to your subject, fam, I want to point out, and I tweeted about this today. Think about this. If Elizabeth Warren hadn't run, it would be mainly Joe Biden versus Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would be in the lead right now, pretty much. I mean, Buttigieg or Kamala weren't going to get anywhere near there, right? And Elizabeth Warren, to me, I genuinely feel this was put out there to be a spoiler, so she would get some of these progressive votes and then they could be accepting of, at least we have a leftist here. And then, of course, when it doesn't work out with her, they're going to blame the leftists. They're going to blame like the progressive policies and say, look, this doesn't work out, or she would lose to Donald Trump either way. But the fact that she ran, if she was a real progressive, knowing her recognition, her name, everything, she would have been like, look, I'm going to back Bernie Sanders because I should have done that in 2016 and blah, blah, blah. Does she have a right to run? Absolutely. But if she were a progressive, maybe she's not giving anything different. That she's trying to copy Bernie, but just not do it. At least Tulsi Gabbard is running on her
Completely
foreign
different.
policy.
Yeah.
She's a little bit different. Like, she's not
She offers a big
copying
difference. Yeah.
Bernie, and that's a reason why she's getting criticized a lot. And kind of going into what you're going to talk about too, is one of the reasons she's being criticized is when she strays from Bernie, which I think, well, what do you want? Do you want her? Why would people vote for her if she's exactly like Bernie?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think there's got to be some differences. The majority of her differences are good based on foreign policy. For foreign policy people, that's why they like her. So
And we understood, when it comes to Elizabeth Warren, how she is on foreign policy, which she's just down in the dumps. Nina Cardella, Janine, that's my sister, using my mom's maiden last name. Hello, Keen James, Kenny Bob, Buster Peak 21. Amar says it's a ultimate Trojan horse. Talking about your girl, Elizabeth
Trojan
Warren.
horse it is.
And that's the whole thing. Remember when people talked, fam, when they were like, I'm saying, if you really care about beating Trump, you should just get out of the way, Bernie. Well, where's the same type of mentality now?
Right.
Elizabeth Warren should be long gone, because then we have somebody in control that is destroying Donald Trump by double digits across the board. Not that I want to mention a lot of polls, because I think a lot of these polls are poo-poo ka-choo, but he would have a huge lead. And Scott McLaughlin says Tulsi needs to kneecap Warren at the next debate. Well, let's hope that she does her studying and comes up with the information like she did against Kamala.
Yeah, let's
maybe
hope she does
maybe
it.
she'll be ready to battle. Did we miss any other super chats? I know you got some people over in the Twitch. Do you want to say hi to them? Is your phone on? Or hello to people on our Twitch. I know
Hi,
we don't pay attention
Twitch
to you a
your
lot
fam.
of times. We don't have you on. There are 3 or 4 people. Thank you so much. If you like to go on there and watch us play hockey, me and Johnny like to grab the sticks, is like we like to call it.
They've got to buy the FIFA soccer one so I can
When
play,
the new
'cause that's
FIFA comes out, we got you.
FIFA for fee.
FIFA. So let's talk about the next event. Okay, I'll hi to those people over on the MCSC network too as well. If I didn't mention them to you guys, there's 90 people over there. There's 142 over here. There's 15 people on the Facebook. I think we got another super chat. JVL 299. Thank you so much. Every penny counts now, ladies and gentlemen. Every penny counts. So we've been going through this whole inquiry for impeachment. What's going on? And I said this before, the chickens is coming home to roost. We paid attention to this when it came to Ukraine. You don't want to open up Pandora's box when it comes to Ukraine, because there's a lot, if you're a Democrat, because mostly it's the Democrats' dirt. And I say this a lot. A lot of the Republicans take a lot of NRA money, Christian right money, but the Democrats, especially the leaders in the Democrats now, your Adam Schiff, who he exposed, Nancy Pelosi, we'll be exposing her tomorrow, Joe Biden, they have their emoluments, which that's exactly what they are, in the Ukraine. Now, I just want to take a look and talk about what's going on in Saudi Arabia, because it's very important to point out. I know a lot of people aren't into foreign policy, but it's hard to understand what's going on, and you need to understand where the connection goes for us possibly being brought into another war with Iran.
And sorry, before you go on, I just want to shout out the very few people getting this right in independent media right now. Very, very few people. Glenn Greenwald, Aaron Matei, Jimmy Dore, and Max Blumenthal the Greystone are some of the key people that are actually like really on the money, and they're getting smeared as we are, because we are being told that we are pro-Trump in this, and we are not pro-Trump. No. We are pro-truth. Pro-truth. And if the truth is something that, is uncomfortable, unfortunately, that's what the media is supposed to report on, the truth. They're not supposed to report on what people like always. It's unfortunately, it's a lot of ugly things come out. So let's get to it, Pasta.
So let's talk about Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is the number one adversary of Iran in that region. Israel can come into play, but those are the 3 major superpowers. As we know, the Saudis are heavily funded for the petrodollar through the United States. We have a lot of great dealings with them, and they have an IPO coming up too as well, where they're trying to take their nationalized oil and put it on the New York Stock Exchange. We'll talk a little bit about that. However, that oil is in jeopardy because of this 5-year war going on, started by Obama, backed by Obama, with the Houthis. The Houthis being the nationalistic northern tribe Shiites, but they've also combined with Sunni tribes as well to fight against the Saudi Arabians. Now, an oil refinery was attacked deep into Saudi by the Houthis rebels right there. So you can say it's Aramco. Now, you got to pay attention to what Aramco is. Aramco is the IPO2B, Aramco Oil. That is who MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, I believe, is it Mohammed bin Salman, or I forget his last name. He is the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. And he is trying to take this nationalized oil, make an IPO, get on the New York Stock Exchange, and really take Saudi Arabia to the next level as far as a superpower in that region. However, the Houthis have really, really got under their nose. And here's another thing that's happened. Now the Houthis are starting to move into Saudi Arabia territory. Here's a little video we got from Al Jazeera showing the Houthis capturing a lot of Saudi Arabian troops. And guess where a lot of these Saudi Arabian troops come from? Pakistan. Take a look.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think we have maybe.
Okay, yeah, go up there. It's right there. No, there's
No?
another one probably, I think, maybe it's on the MCSC network. There it is, $5 Chuck from Pop Reality. Warren is no friend of Bernie's. She sat out for Hillary, but now opposes Bernie.
Exactly.
At the time when the literal planet is at stake. You're right, too. And then this Native American stuff, does she show up
No.
over at Standing Rock? I don't think
And
so.
her green military
Green bombs.
BS. Like Lockheed Martin just released an ad too.
All right, so take a look at this video. These are the Houthis capturing Saudi troops in Saudi territory. Very, very important.
News as we go to air this hour. Yemen's Houthi rebels say thousands of Saudi troops have surrendered after a cross-border military campaign. They say they targeted the southern Saudi region of Najran and captured several army officers and weapons. Of course, the Saudi-UAE coalition in Yemen has been fighting the Houthis for more than 4 years now.
Thousands of the enemy forces have been captured as prisoners. Others were killed. From among the prisoners is a large number of high-ranking officers and soldiers from the Saudi citizenship. More than 72 hours from the launch of the operation, our forces laid a total siege to the enemy forces. Around totally 3 brigades, along with 1 regiment of the Saudi forces. They were destroyed and imprisoned and captured.
On the line now, Mohammed Al-Attab, who's joining us on the line from Sana'a. Mohammed, this is a very big claim the Houthis are making. Is there any more information?
Yes, this kind of wide-scale operations that have been revealed by the Houthis military spokesperson, he considered it one of the biggest operations, ground operation, and deep into Saudi territories. He says that they have already captured hundreds of kilometers, square kilometers in the region of Najran, and they have also arrested.
Okay, so that was pretty much it. You can see what's going on. Now the Houthis, after many years, are pushing into Saudi Arabia territory and capturing their troops. Over 1,000, they said. They had a big spectacle. They played it. They showed them turning into their guns. But what does this mean now for American involvement? Because like we said, this is the hot spot right now. We have offered to defend and help Saudi Arabia defend their nation, their oil, whatnot. We're very much involved, the petrodollar. Just the other day, Donald Trump, and this is the thing that's disgusted me because we're sitting here talking about impeachment over what happened over Ukraine Gate, and after those oil refineries have been bombed, we're now sending thousands of troops over here. And this is what I talk about, fam, all the time. When it comes to Medicare for all, when it comes to single payer, when it comes to this bill, it's going to be a process. Am I right or wrong? I mean, it's not just like the president's going to come and here's the bill, whatnot. He's going to have to whip votes. They're going to have to go into committee. He's going to have to change it. They don't need to do that when it comes to foreign policy or sending troops, especially now with the AUMF, the Authorization Use of Military Force. The president can just send troops off right away. Tulsi was calling them out. We're not your bitch. You're not our pimp. What are you doing? Kind of bringing light to this situation. Right now, it's up in the air what's going to happen with American involvement, but we're already sending troops. But the problem is that Saudi Arabia now knows they're very vulnerable. They took a shot to the nose, fam, and they haven't been able to recover since. Really. The Houthis now have caught up to them. They're pressing into their territory. They're drone bombing their oil refineries, which is their bloodline. If they don't have these IPOs going, if there's a threat to what's going on, they're not going to get funding to keep increasing their infrastructure when it comes to oil, and they have to get to the next level. So the long-term security for Saudi Arabia is, I think Saudi Arabia now has to understand that they are very vulnerable, and they, while this impeachment process is going on, hopefully they'll make a pivot in the region and maybe form an ally with Iran, knowing that Iran can go in there right now and just take care of them like that. They got America on their side, but they are very, very vulnerable. We've talked about it before. Their whole landscape, it's all dunes. They can send these drones in, and all the military weapons we gave them, they're all high-range ballistic missiles, and they're just kind of guerrilla warfaring, getting in underneath and blowing up these things. So the long-term security for Saudi Arabia isn't at jeopardy. Now, the whole thing is, what will the oligarchs and the deep state do? Will they try to put us into the war? Will they try to push us? The answer is yes. I think me and Niko, we talked about it, that sending over the troops also gives them, it's almost like he's using them as a pawn.
Right.
Can you imagine one troop gets killed, a couple of troops get killed?
Yeah.
That's an excuse to go to war with Iran.
Right.
Because the American people will get it. Who the hell do the Houthis think they are, that they are bombing and they're killing? You know what I'm saying? That's an excuse to help up.
But it's okay for Saudi Arabia to literally be a tyrant.
Oh, yeah.
And you know,
Monarch.
and hurt people in Yemen and hurt people in Iran and cause all of this that's happening to them is a result of their actions and our actions combined. And again, that is us meddling into other countries, fomenting this sort of crises and regime change now, because now this is all that's going to happen. And on top of that, we have the audacity to continue focusing on impeachment, as Pasta says, when we really don't care about helping other countries. And again, and we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, but what's happening too in Syria with Turkey and the Kurds saying that, oh, we have to help the Kurds. And so we have to go and push this whole narrative that now every Democrat pretty much is pushing, that we need to save the Kurds from what's going on. We don't care about people. The only reason we would go into Syria is to, again, foment this whole regime change narrative because we don't like Assad, because he threatens what we represent. And so it's this whole thing over and over again. And Donald Trump was supposed to be the guy to keep us out, and he has not done that.
Well, it's such a, you know, it's once again, it's like it's Elizabeth Warren flip-flop and Donald Trump, you know, because here's the thing, like, he's not pulling troops out of the Golan Heights. The troops are going to stay there in the Golan Heights. Why? He has businesses there. And we talked about this before. We talk about this all the time. If you want Donald Trump, go after him on emoluments. Guess what? He has 8 businesses in Saudi Arabia he registered during the campaign. So I always say that the emoluments for the Democrats are in places like the Ukraine, Honduras. You can go there. You know, Clinton, Global Initiative, they're all in there. Joe Biden, Adam Schiff. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi. Heavily involved emolument-wise inside Ukraine. But in Saudi Arabia now, Donald Trump has a ton of businesses with the hotel industry and whatnot. They can get him on emoluments, especially since he's sending troops there now to Saudi Arabia. Now they got him dead to right, but they won't do that. Why won't the Democrats go after him for emoluments, particularly inside Saudi Arabia? You tell me, ladies and gentlemen. You let me know why, because they have him dead to right. But the Democrats, like I said, won't push him when it comes to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I mean, 100% on that, fam.
Okay, so the last topic we have for today, and thank you very much to all those people out there, Kevin, Ryan on the MCSC network, PolyZ Gaming, Cheyenne. I thought you were on the CONVO couch. She's going back and forth. Roro Zorro, what's up? Scott McLaughlin, thank you so much for the money. Amars, he said right, and Vincent Artormi. We're going to talk about this last subject right now, fam. So you were gone. And I couldn't ask you because Tulsi leaked her single-payer plus statement. Not so much the plan, but she talked about it.
Right.
And I really was like, wow, that is awesome. But then you saw some Democratic commentators like Mike Figueredo, Kyle, my boy Roadslav, who I do like Roadslav, the Slavic American, he goes by Roadslav, was really, really harsh and to Tulsi Gabbard for this. Now, I'm a little confused. Can you please shed some light? I mean, do other progressive bills like Bernie Sanders' bills and Jayapal's bills, who you say are the most progressive, do they have private insurance or public insurance?
They do, actually. But they do have for supplemental. So basically, Tulsi's come out with a name. She is, of course, we don't have the full plan, and I'm going to reserve full analysis once she releases her full plan. But she is calling her single payer plus is her plan. So first of all, just so you guys know, single payer is the actual name for the type of insurance that we all want. It's Medicare for all is supposed to fall under a single payer system. That's what the whole idea was with Jayapal's bill. Jayapal's bill differs from Bernie's bill in that Bernie is expanding Medicare, which leaves a lot up to the states, versus Jayapal was expanding Medicaid, which provides more of a national view. So that's the difference. Jayapal's is actually more directly single payer than Bernie's, but Bernie's is saying, I'm going to provide Medicare for all, for every single person. And the only time that private insurance is going to have a role eventually, once the 4 years are over, Jayapal's is 2 years, is supplemental insurance. So in case you have you want more visits to the doctor, you want to get cosmetic surgery, things that aren't covered. There's no copays, there's no deductibles according to Bernie's plan. Now, people have been talking about the gaps, that there are gaps in that you cannot force people to certain doctors to go through. And so what I'm going to break that down, because I think that needs to be broken down, but I want to have Tulsi's full plan to actually compare it to it. Bernie's bill, you're not supposed to, though, however, have private insurance outside of the supplemental coverage. Tulsi's single payer plus plan, so far that she has said, would be something that is still, she doesn't want to call it Medicare for all. She wants it to be her own thing, but it's still the same. It's still a single payer system. So people saying that she's not for Medicare for all are actually wrong, in the sense that by Medicare for all, they mean like a single payer system. Yeah. A lot of people don't know the terminology. This gets kind of wonky and complicated. Single payer means that every single American would be covered. Every single American would be covered. Everybody pays into it. This is the key difference. Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, and Elizabeth Warren is kind of, I don't even know what her plan is. It's just mess. It's calling Medicare for all, but it's not. But all of these people are saying a public option only. Medicare for all / single payer cannot work under a public option, because what happens is, if you're not forced to opt into the system, if everybody is not opt into the system, what happens is people decide not to pay, and they go with the insurance providers, and then it still sustains the insurance providers with power. It still gives them the power. It still gives them ability to negotiate. What Tulsi's saying is a single payer system with a private option, which is the plus part, where people can choose to keep their plan, but everybody pays into it. It is extra, and by doing so, she would be this kind of denouncing the power, kind of getting rid of the power of the insurance companies. This is what she has claimed. Again, I have to see her full plan, but to say that it doesn't count if it's not Medicare for all is actually disingenuous. You can look to every other major country on earth, and they all vary. Canada does it one way, Denmark does it another way, Australia does it another way. We have this idea that it has to say the name Medicare for all. I support Bernie Sanders, and I support his Medicare for all plan. However, I'm not going to say that you can't support single payer in another country, which might also work too. And I think people need to stop fighting about it, because it's literally just variances of pretty much a single payer system. And like Pasta said, we're all going to have to go through the process and see what they can actually get through. This is why we need to run people in Congress too, because it's not going to be enough. No. Okay, so
she
the
says
main
it's duplicative coverage. That is a concern.
No, it's
but that's
not.
what the Road Slob said.
It's
he goes,
not.
Yeah.
It's not. Okay, so by duplicative.
What is duplicative coverage?
So they're right in the sense that duplicative coverage is, for instance, under Bernie, the supplemental insurance is only, the private insurance only applies to supplemental things that aren't covered by Medicare for all. So like if for anything that's like cosmetic procedures and stuff like that.
I think they were talking about Tulsi.
Right, but I'm comparing it. So so that's Bernie Sanders. Tulsi's it would provide the ability for that if people are going to pay double. So that's the difference. So it's not just duplicative coverage like, oh, I'm not going to pay into the system, but I'm going to choose to pay into this other system. It's duplicative in the sense that they would be paying double.
Yeah.
So, but they're not opting out. Everybody pays in. And that is the entire difference between that plan and, say, Kamala Harris or Pete Buttigieg or Joe Biden's plan, which has come under, her plan has been compared to because she used the word. So now, again, I'm going to wait for the full analysis until her whole plan comes out, because I don't want to say things that maybe she's changing or that's not specific. But I am aware that I did ask the campaign. I said, what does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. And so because they clarified, because I was concerned when I heard the word choice, I'm like, oh, I didn't like that. And we discussed it here. I didn't like it at all. And I wasn't happy with it. And I said she shouldn't have used that word, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, if it's a single payer system, she can't be advocating for a Medicare for all if you want it. That's not what she's advocating for, because then it's not single payer. Yeah. It has to be a single payer system. And when she comes out with that plan, I want to read it and dissect it and then go over her plan, go over Warren's plan, go over Bernie's plan, go over the other plans, because a lot of things are being said that aren't actually correct. And we all have to make sure that we're not just going off our emotions off of one word and like saying, well, no, that's not it. If it's not this word exactly, then they're canceled. And a lot of people love these hot emotional takes. That is why a lot of these commentators have made their money off of having these emotional, ranty, hot takes. But with Medicare for all, with single payer health, people are dying. I don't want to be tricked. The majority of the public is responding because they don't want to be tricked, and they have been tricked with the ACA, with what Obama wanted, and with subsequently what's been happening. So I'm not trying to make any sort of excuses here for her, but if she's talking about that, if she's saying it's a single payer plan, and then everybody has to pay into it, there's like everybody pays through their taxes into it.
Yeah.
And then if people want to choose to keep their coverage, they can. But the way it's going to be done is that it's going to reduce entirely the power of these private insurance companies, make it so unlikely that you will want to have that double coverage.
Okay.
That's her.
I have a question there.
That's her plan.
Robert Lowe says Medicare for all will cover everything necessary. What will we need supplemental for? Cosmetic would be financed like right now.
Right. So under what she said is that she wants people to have the ability, if they have their job, a plan that they like, that their job is providing, to keep it. And a lot of other countries operate that way. I agree with you 100%. If Medicare for all is covering everything, why would you need to have another, to have some of these other companies provide it? Again, I don't know the specifics as to how she's going to do that, which is why I want to wait for her plan. My whole point is I want to wait to see the specifics of why she wants to do that. You know, what is her reasoning? Because as from what I've seen, Tulsi hasn't taken the money. She's a logical person. She's a person that has been supportive and co-sponsored Jayapal's bill. She also agreed with Bernie Sanders' bill. Why would she not be for? Why would she be lying to you guys and saying she's for single payer? It just doesn't make sense to me. If it had been someone like Warren who's taking the money, someone like Kamala who's taking the money, and every other of these establishment people, I'd be like, oh, well, of course, like maybe they have a nefarious reason. But again, that's why I'm not saying that I'm not all saying I'm confirming everything. I'm simply saying I want to wait till her plan comes out, and then I want to dissect her plan and compare it to Bernie Sanders' plan, because to me, thus far, of the candidates running, he's the one that has the most comprehensive, specific healthcare plan, with also not just healthcare, but medical debt forgiveness, which is unprecedented. And that to me is a really huge deal as to why I support him. But I'm not going to go say I'm canceling her because she hasn't even had time to explain her plan.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm just reading the chat as you were going on and listening to you, and people were responding to you. And this is something it's going to have a lot more discussion, a lot more things to talk about when it comes to Medicare for all, single payer, where we're at, whatnot. I still go with that whole mentality that I know this is going to be a process. Even if it's Bernie gets in office, he's not going to just be able to necessarily enact single payer or Medicare for all. It is going to be a process. And I guess that's why I trust Tulsi so far, because I don't find her to be a liar. In fact, when I asked her a question and she didn't know the answer, she told me she didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, trust is a big thing, and she is signed on to Jayapal's plan, so I'm trusting that she's going to go in the right direction. And I'm looking forward to her new bill and stuff to come out and take a look at it. But people are going crazy about that stuff. They were also going crazy about the Kashmir situation. I just want to reiterate, when it comes to Kashmir, I'm not going to say who's right or wrong. I'm going to say this: due to our history of always getting involved, we should stay out. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody was putting on the chat, so you're going to align yourself with Pakistan? Yeah, those are the geopolitical decisions that need to go into these situations when it comes to dealing with Pakistan and India, whatnot. There are geopolitical decisions. We are concerned about certain things that go on in those countries. Yeah. We're trying to learn more. We're trying to talk to people from that region. But once again, there are geopolitical situations that come in, which people ignore, fam. They go more by their emotion and their heart and see what's going on and talk about the Modi situation rather than really what's going on. Sorry.
So, no, two things. On the Medicare for all thing, everybody has a right to be scared. Everybody has a right to be emotional about it. People are dying. This is a huge issue to many of us progressives. This is the one issue. If Tulsi tomorrow says I don't really support Medicare for all and I see that it's a terrible plan, I would be like, no, I'm sorry, that's not okay with me. You have to support Medicare for all if you want to call yourself a progressive, et cetera, et cetera. But with the whole Modi issue, with the whole Kashmiri issue, I have friends and I have talked to them and I've asked them about these things off the record, and they're like, what? This has been happening forever. This is something that's ongoing. Like, what? They don't understand why all of a sudden this is a thing. They also say that why are these Americans, like, they don't know anything. They're just like, it seems like it's trendy from their point of view. To them, it seems like we're like doing the whole liberal thing where it's like we're trending on something. We're like assigning ourselves to something. Has Modi done things? Absolutely. And I think we can also accept that while simultaneously saying there are two sides to a conflict that most people act like they're experts on when they know nothing about. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not defending Modi, but I'm at the same time, I'm saying I think we need to listen to people. Pasta and I have been looking for somebody of Pakistani descent to talk to us about their point of view, because we had somebody who was from India and had a completely different point of view. Then we have other people who are kind of in between on this issue. So we want to hear all these voices. We don't want to just have a one-sided echo chamber thing and just go off on what the whole status quo is kind of pushing, because it's really easy to fall into that trap. We have to hear all of these sides, and as much as it would be easy for me to say, you know, I'm going to cancel so and so because they're a Hindu fascist and blah blah blah, I think it's kind of premature when a lot of the people shouting these slogans don't know anything about the issue or only know certain things that are being told to them. So I want to know more about the issue. He wants to know more about the issue. I know everybody wants to know more, so we want to have these people from those countries come talk to us. We are inviting them. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear what you have to say. Yeah. And, you know, because there are issues, like I said, that I've heard on multiple sides, and it's really ridiculous to hear people cancel somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, though, when she's not running for president of India, and people say she has ties to the RSS, but she really doesn't. It's just they like her because she's part of their religion, and it's really weird. Like, you know, like as if right wingers can't go to like if I'm a Democrat, a right winger can't go to my wedding. It's just really weird how these things are being tied to her when she's not even from the country. Like, she just practices. Well,
they think it's
religion.
the Hindu stuff, then they think that she's making her decisions based upon her faith, or at least that's the attack. Yeah. And it's really ridiculous when it comes to
But it just came out of nowhere.
It did, because once again, we were geopolitically aligned. Obama had a love affair with Modi. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
where was the outrage for when he had the love affair? I mean, I'm just looking at it as a, like, where was the, like, if you really want to hold her accountable, you should have held everybody accountable. Why is this all of a sudden a thing? That's what I'm asking. Like, why is this all of a sudden what people are so focused on? I'm going to cancel her because she's not supporting the Pakistani people, the Kashmiri people. Like, it's just kind of, but wait, what about Obama? What about Kamala Harris? What about all of these people? Like, sure, you can criticize her for it, and I do think there's a bias there because of her religion, but a bias is completely different from being complicit in urging his victory and all these other things that people are claiming.
Well, you know, it's also too, it's an attack, and I'm going to read a super chat from Manny in 1 second, but it's also an attack to try to get her to cut her funding. In other words, these links, and I've been talking to Sham Sharma. I'm going to be on the show. He's going to be on our show too as well. We're arranging everything. We're going to talk about the history of the RSS, because a lot of these Indian Americans have some ties to the RSS. A lot. Now, you hear the RSS thrown out there. They were a form of Nazism, the Peter Friedrich, but it dates back to the Nazis, or Germany, funding them to fight against the British colonizers at the time. It was a proxy war, and they were using the RSS. And once again, I don't know deeply about it. That's why I'm going to talk to Sham. I'm going to talk to some people. There are people from Pakistan we've invited that have not talked to us. Samira Khan just pretty much ghosted me. If she wants to get back into it, I'd love to have her on the show. But we want to talk to all sides. And once again, Manny said, yes, the best thing is to have both someone from India and Pakistan to talk about this. It still isn't our issue, and diplomacy is the best. It's their border issue. And our history of getting involved the way we do, fam, we can't get involved like this.
But that's the whole thing. They use you guys as emotions. They tug on your heartstrings. So you guys say, "Oh, we should get involved. We should do that." And they use that to push regime change and to push our involvement and to push war that benefits us and ends up hurting all of these people. And I'm sick and tired of seeing that playbook over and over and over again. And I think the best way sometimes we can help is to have diplomacy, like you said, stay out of these conflicts that we know nothing about, that we sound ignorant about, and we're okay. We can admit that, we can talk about it,
absolutely.
But we shouldn't pretend that we all of a sudden are experts on this issue, which is all I've been seeing online.
It's they're sound on it, whatnot. And listen, let me tell you something. If you disagree with the issues and the way she's handling India, Pakistan, Kashmiri border, that's okay. But to say that she hates Muslims or doesn't like Muslims, and when Emma did that stuff, that was just the worst thing in the world. Who went to Yemen? Who? It was her and Roe who pushed for us to stop funding Saudi Arabia to bombing who? Muslims in Yemen. Who went to Syria with Dennis Kucinich to talk on the plight of Muslims who were dying? Tulsi Gabbard. So she's put herself out there to go to stop the atrocities against Muslims. So how can you say she's anti-Muslim? It's pretty ridiculous. And Amar says, for always having the courage, hard convos are IMPT. What's that stand for?
Oh.
See, man, I'm not a hipster like you, bro. I don't know those words.
It's not hipster. It's
well, I'm not
of a certain age.
Whatever. I'm 96, and that's a little bit older.
It's okay. I like Bernie Sanders. I like, I hang out with old.
Well, Gil Fuller said some stuff. People are ignorant. American issues up front. That was what should be. F what's going on and has happened in India. I don't want to say F what's going on, but I don't think that we should go in there and insert our will and our power and stuff. Like we said, we talked about this. I was a little upset when Bernie Sanders said security and did that. I thought he should have stayed out of it, at least until he talked to Modi, because whether we like it or not, if Bernie Sanders is the president, he has to have a relationship with Modi. Otherwise, because when it comes to that Southeast China area, there's Russia and China. Guess who we're doing the most joint operations with? India. We're heavily involved with them. We have been for a long time. Okay? So Tulsi Gabbard's number one enemy. And remember, she was in the Iraq war. She knows who the enemy is, and she sees it. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatnot. Funded by who? Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, whether we like it or not, has strong ties to the Pakistani government. It's all connected. I understand where she's coming from. However, we can still push her to be a little bit more open and talk about it.
And I think she should talk to the Pakistani side too.
Here,
like that's my criticism. She needs to talk to the Pakistani side of things, because a diplomat will always hear both sides, not just one. So I think that's the next step if she really wants to do that. So
Val says, "Pasta, don't worry. If you're like 500 years old, we still love you." And David Harris says, "Save money, take the money." I said it to myself out of the military-industrial complex, and Mars is laughing. Fam, I think that's enough. We did here for almost 58 minutes, going on 59.
Wow.
You got anything else to say? What are you going to talk about tomorrow? Do you know?
I don't know.
I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Nancy Pelosi.
That's my girl. Don't go after Nancy.
That money.
You want me to call her again?
Nancy Pelosi's contact.
You should invite her over for some pasta.
She's coming over. She's going to lose her job because she's connected to Ukraine.
For some pasta.
Her son made money, and that's how they sidestep these emoluments. That's how Donald Trump is going to sidestep it. Everything's under my kids' names. Everything's under Hunter Biden's names. Everything's under my son's names. No, you're enriching your family.
Elizabeth Warren did it too with the insurance company.
There you go, $45,000, right?
Yeah.
And then the payments, and then she used them as a back channel to pay off who? The Workers' Party, who endorsed her now, who endorsed Bernie around last time.
Follow the money.
Phillips Street, Val, thank you so much. Mars,
guys.
David Harris, we love you. Manny, Jesus Zamora, listen, we know you guys have differences. We love the fact that we get in there. We don't stay inside our echo chamber. We get out there and we talk to the people.
Even if we're hated for it,
Squids,
we're going to say.
Squids McCracken says hi, Fee.
Hi, Squids.
And Terry B says, what's up? Over on the MCSE network, Cheyenne, what are you doing over there? Get back over in our spot, Cheyenne. Deep Space, Robert Desch. And who else do we have? Did I miss any super chats? Did I get them all, Johnny?
I think you got it.
Manny, we love you. Manny's keeping the show going. That's it. Keep it going, Manny. Tulsi doesn't criticize either side. That's ignored.
Yeah, I mean, I think she did criticize, actually, when I asked her the question on Kashmir, because everybody has been largely saying we need to help the Kashmiri people. She kind of said, "Oh, Pakistan, there's two sides. You know, a lot of these things that were happening were hurting the Indian people." So she did criticize, but she kind of took the Hindu side more than.
Well, she definitely. I think she's praised more and whatnot. And let's be. I want to say something here now too as well, fam. A lot of people don't notice. She didn't go out and start speaking to Modi.
No.
She was sent there by Obama when Modi was coming to town, or she had to go there. Obama sent her to pave the way for relations.
Would I have posted a Twitter picture of Modi and blah, blah, blah? No, I wouldn't have done that. I think that was a little over the top. But I think I'm not really going to go after her for talking to adversaries. I feel like that's what we need to do. However, I understand people's hesitancy because it's not something we're accustomed to doing. Yeah. We're accustomed to vilifying people and being like, oh, this guy, I'm not going to talk to this guy. And she's one of those people that talks to them without being overly like romantic like Obama was.
Yeah.
But again, it irritates me when they talk about that with her and nobody touches Obama.
Yeah. Or the Clintons or Nancy Pelosi. I had a picture with her and Modi. Please, this is geopolitical relationships in that region. We need to talk to those people. That doesn't mean she's going to okay everything going in that country. It's just sometimes we should stay out and mind our own businesses, especially when India has never had a problem. We've never had a problem with India attacking us.
Yeah.
Okay? We've had people who were in Pakistan that we had to go and get that attacked the United States. So let's not forget that.
And I just want to say this.
Trying to,
I have never seen a person be more smeared and like people just turning on them as much as I've seen it with Tulsi Gabbard. It's really weird. It just keeps happening more so as she got back into the debates right after she went after Kamala. And now she's back into the debates. It just seems like people have this like desire for her to completely disappear. And that makes me more suspect than anything else that she should actually be on that stage. Because when the establishment and a lot of people fall into this whole agreement where they're just going to go after this person, I'm like, maybe this person is doing something right.
Well, I think a lot of Bernie fans that do not like her, the ones that do, and we obviously know it's split. Half the Bernie fans are like, yay, Warren, yay, Tulsi. But they see Tulsi, I think, as a threat as to take away votes from Bernie Sanders. But we keep on explaining this, that like Tulsi goes out and gets the votes that Bernie Sanders could never get. He does have that tag and that label as a Democratic Socialist. And there's going to be a lot of people on the right who will never vote for people they feel is a Democratic Socialist of any sorts. So the fact that she's bringing these people into the fold, and like we said this before, fam, if Elizabeth Warren drops out, is she going to hand over her delegates over to Bernie? We don't know that. I don't know that. If Tulsi drops out, who is she handing over her delegates to?
Bernie.
Absolutely. 1,000% she's not giving them to anybody else.
Yeah.
Mikey Yu, our boy, he says, Ungerliner, Sarah Silverman supports your girl, Elizabeth Warren. Isn't that a surprise?
I thought she said something positive about Bernie, but she goes back and forth. I'm not surprised. Last time around, she told us to shut up and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that really turned me up. Who cares about Sarah Silverman? Steve Warwick said, Steve, where the hell you been this whole show? We've been looking for you, Steve Warwick. Well, he's here. Now that Steve's here, it's time to get on out. Fam, do we have anything else to say?
No.
Gabriel Ramirez is overhanging on the
Gabriel?
Facebook. We want to thank everybody else who joined in today. It was late night, but tomorrow we'll be going around 2 o'clock-ish, hopefully.
And we have more stuff to talk about too, Maria Strada. And
we'll play that stuff. There was a situation with the K&M
corrupt
delegates.
California LA party.
It's
terrible.
really, really bad, this party, and they never admit to their corruption. And it seems, and it's kind of funny because I've seen David Atkins online on Twitter.
Oh, God.
And once again, David Atkins is just okaying Biden's behavior, saying it's been debunked. Been debunked by who? Go over and check out the Duran too, by the way. That's another great channel. We've been talking about all these people covering some stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave out the Duran because the one gentleman from the Duran says, what I really like about Fiorella and the CONVO couch is that they explore the issues and they research everything. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella Isabel.
Jonny Sue on the ones and twos.
Come out.
Join our Patreon and Rockfin. We love you.
Woo!